Hi, welcome to Moments with Mimi. And today we're going to talk about the big picture, Tesla, Edison, and JP Morgan. A lot of people are fascinated with Tesla, and I've always been a big picture kind of gal, and their stories have always fascinated me. And once I discovered what Neville said, you go back and you look, and you can see how Edison's life led him to be the way he is. And he's very much objective man. And he was Tesla's objective man, because Tesla was very much imagination man. And Tesla's one area of still fighting objective subjective man was money. And he didn't really even think about it. It was always there for him. But there came a moment, and it was when he was building his tower in Wardenclyffe, I think is what it's called. I probably tortured that, so. But anyways, it was beautiful, and it was going to bring wireless energy to the world. And Edison whispers in JP Morgan's ear, hey, this is not a win-win for all. JP Morgan is a follower of the laws. It was noted in several of his biographies that, he went out to a empty lot, and I think Neville even mentions this with his sons, and said, I remember when this was an empty lot, and started describing the building he wanted to have there. And he ended up having that lot and that building. And he knew the laws. He was extremely grateful to everyone, was always thanking others. So he was very much into the laws, but he still saw the separation. They all did. And so when the moment came, Edison whispers to JP Morgan, it's not a win-win for all. You're not going to make any money. And JP Morgan goes, Tesla, I'm not going to make any money. And Tesla's like, who gives a fuck about the money? Screw the money. We're going to give wireless energy out to everybody. And JP Morgan's like, yeah, right. No, we're not. And, cuts the funding. And that was a seed that was planted. It hasn't died. That's a planted seed that the one man has, planted. And this is coming. And, one of the ways that humanity looks at this, well, we got to try this and we got to try that. And then, people get involved in the stories. They subject themselves to another by entering their story. So, the story of oil. And we found oil, and we found all these great things to do with oil. And then we see the dark side of oil, and we decide, okay, we're going to clean that up. We're not going to do that, and this is how we're going to use it. And we're going to, do our best here with what we have. And the answer's been planted. So now other things come up, there's just not enough waterfalls to do, hydro. So let's do solar, let's do the wind, and these take up big spaces. So then, because they've entered the story, now it's, oh, well, we got to get rid of all these animals that are taking up all this space. So y'all need to eat plants. We can grow them in water and buildings and stuff, and it doesn't hurt them, But unbeknownst to them, or they're not aware of, because there's certainly scientists that are, because you can find this out on the internet and on shows. Plants are conscious. Yes, they are. And they do cry out. And just because you don't hear them doesn't mean they're not crying out. When a bunch of aphids get on a, bean plant, it's crying out, help me, help me, there's aphids. And then, pshoo, 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 here come the black ants, here come the ladybugs. We got you, man, we got you back, don't you worry. We're a team. There's only one, you know. This is how it works. So you learn there's 6 of one, half dozen of another. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's the same thing, being told differently. So yes, Edison was right, there's no money in it, but he was looking at life, from a subjective standpoint. And JP Morgan is thinking, come on now, it's got to be a win-win for all. This ain't a win-win for me, and I'm not your victim, man. He cuts that off. And Tesla thinking others that, can have some kind of hold on him in some way, and that was his monster to defeat, which, in the end, he didn't really defeat it, and still working on that baby. So here it is. And we've reached this point where, you've got a small group of the population trying to convince everyone that it needs to be done this way, and you need to cut oil out altogether. This is like saying, I cut you out, but I believe in you, but I cut you out. And that's making a monster. Is what you're doing. So you embrace what you have. You're thankful for what you have. I'm thrilled with the oil and gas industry. I think they're great. They've done some great things, and it's can sustain us while we build wireless electricity for all. And here's the great irony. Okay, you can step back and see this stuff. Edison made a company, General Electric, and it's been around for over 100 years and does some marvelous things. Always has. It fell into a hole, and now it's emerging out of the hole. And watch. Want to bet? Edison's company brings wireless energy to the world. I think it's going to happen. It's great irony. But this is what I see when I step back. That's me. I've always been fascinated with history. The barons of Wall Street, Carnegie, Rockefeller, all these men knew the laws in an objective man standard way. So they got what they wanted. Some were aware it was their imagination, Carnegie, and was very thankful for that. And Rockefeller knew he and Carnegie were, objective and imagination man. And they fed off each other. And, it was a great, not competition, really camaraderie. Because one knew that they wouldn't do as well if the other wasn't there, and to goad them, and so to speak. So, you can step back and see these things and appreciate both sides of these people and their lives and what shaped them for these moments. So, everyone has that. There's some moment waiting for you or about to be that makes you feel, great. This is really what I want to do. I really want to fix motorcycles. I love them. I really love tractors. I love driving them. I love using them. I love bulldozers. I love playing in the dirt. Everybody has something that they love to do. And they're willing to do anything to be a part of that. Oh, you're going to go dig ditch today? I mean, I'll help. And you love it because you find these great things in the dirt or whatever it is that makes you love digging in the dirt. And so, for Tesla, it was just, you know, electricity and being in his imagination. The man was always in his imagination, and he was so good at it that he could see intricate details when he was in his imagination that often didn't make it into his drawings with the patent office. That today you look at him, but there's all some little missing, and you had to go to Tesla to get that little something. So you can go within and figure it out, and everyone has these moments. I love the story of Tesla and Edison and J.P. Morgan. It's just a fascinating story to me. My life, once I found level, I realized that my life had been, you know, a lot of things. And uh, I had visions and dreams when I was young, that often scared my parents. They became part of a psychic group in order to try to help me with these dreams and visions, and I scared them. We got kicked out of the group, and I stopped telling them about the dreams and visions, and um, they stopped. When I hit around 13, and then up until that time, I was uh, just fascinated with the Bible and the stories of all the myths, all the legends, anything. Johnny Appleseed, tell me that story. I wanted to hear him over and over and over again, and loved it. Cinderella, all that stuff. I loved the movie Cinderfella. I think I watched that movie about 20 times. I love Jerry Lewis. Anyways, and then a fascination with entertainment. I didn't care what it was. I wanted to watch it. Old movies, Spencer Tracy, Clark Gable, Gene Kelly, you know, all these actors and actresses, and I read about all their lives and anything I could do to be a part of the theater, prop manager, stage manager, actor, dancer, bit player, it didn't matter. I'll do it. I'll do it. And then uh, met a man, I was very resentful for having to go to work, and that was my own thing. Living in an objective land, and met a man who taught me about markets and became fascinated with crowd psychology, and how fascinating it is how you have to have a very strong mental fortitude to not panic in the face of the crowd panicking, and that most will act one way when they're alone, but they'll act completely differently, in a crowd. And when you discover these laws, you discover they're all vibrating. They're passing this vibration of fear or whatever it is. So it's quite fascinating to look at the crowd and see what the crowd is thinking. So that's markets are a crowd, and you discover what the market is telling you. And then, so today you hear a lot on the news. The internet went wild. The internet went crazy. The internet, blah, blah, and it's the same type of thing. But, but the internet is made up of people, just like markets are made up of people. And what are they saying? What are they thinking? Well, you don't really know, because they're telling you what they think they're thinking. And so you get these perception fields all coming in, right? And this is just an ocean, a flood of facts. That's what that is. And objective man calls it information overload. And it's really you literally facing a sea of facts. This is a subjective world. And you literally have to become Noah. And in a sense, the story of Noah is a very good example of what's going on. So in the story of Noah, he didn't like the world he's seen. He dislikes it intensely, thank you very much. And he doesn't want to see it anymore. And he's turned within and gone to God and said, man, I don't like this. And God tells him, okay, build an ark. And he's like, build an ark? Yep, build an ark. Okay. And what that really means is he's gone within. And now God's telling him, you need to go within and stay within. The ark is your mind. Okay. So in the story, his neighbors even help him build the ark, and he gets it done in 7 days. He goes within himself and manages within 7 is completion, and he manages to completely be able to meditate and go within to his sanctuary, his ark, in a week. So there he is in his ark, and it's time to fill it up. And he's filling it up with the thoughts that, are his heaven. And they come in twos so that they multiply and grow. And he picks the good ones, right? Because they're his thoughts. He's building his world. So he fills the ark up with the animals 2 by 2. Those are his thoughts. This is what my world is now going to be like. He takes his family in with him. We're going to have a great world. I believe that all of y'all are going to benefit. That's good. So they go into his ark. He's taken them in there. Noah has taken them into his ark. And now here comes the flood of facts. And he's safe in his ark. He has rejected objective man. He's left behind everything he ever believed or thought. It's gone. All that objective man stuff, goodbye. It is washed away in the flood. Washed away. And when it's done, he ends up at the top of Mount Sinai. And that's him at the top of his mind. And the dove represents the love of God. And the dove comes down and says, okay, you can come out now. It's just the way you want it to be. And he comes out, and it is. It's just the way he wants it to be. It's clean, it's fresh, it's lovely, and he gets drunk on wine, drunk on his imagination. And it's time to fill the world up again. And one of his sons goes off to do just that, go be a prodigal son. He became the God of his world and changed it. And the story is about, changing from one age to another in a humanity sense. And it's about you individually changing from one who used to believe in the objective world and now no longer does and sees everything from the imaginative side. And so, the story of Tesla and Edison is going to come together in some way because the two become one and they've been fighting each other, and we're going to bring it together in some magical, wonderful way. I don't know. I just know that story is part of the one man story, and it's not over. And it's really funny because people say, oh, oil is non-renewable. Really? Really? Do you really believe that? Despite all the major finds we have found, and some people say, no, we just figured out how to get out the oil we have better with fracking. Yeah, you're forgetting about the big finds we have had throughout this planet in the last 10 years that are enormous, ginormous. Okay, there's plenty. There's plenty for all. And it is a renewable resource because all you have to do is want it. There are enough people that want it. Neville tells a story about a man who fell asleep every night on his land, dreaming he found oil on his property in Tennessee. 20 years later, he found oil on his property in Tennessee. So, yeah, it's renewable. So, when you're fascinated with things like history and certain people in history and things like that, and you start looking back and you realize this is part of the big story, the big picture. I mean, I can see the big picture. I see it. And one of the things that has bothered me is in this life, I never, saw David and the joining together and all that in a vision. I saw it in Doctor Who, and I've, cried tears of joy. I mean, I knew what it meant, and I was just, isn't that wonderful? Well, I asked, why is that? And I got the answer. Some of us are just Trojan horses. I'm the spy in this Trojan horse. I was reinserted into the Matrix to tell this story, the big picture story. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm loving it. I mean, I figured that out a little bit. I had to ask why, And I kind of knew, but still, it was very, I don't know, just a bunch of love, peace. This is what you're doing. This is this is what you're supposed to do, Rita. Okay, you're going to be the Mimi. You're going to be the Mimi to your world. Okay. And you tell them about the big picture. Okay. So, the big picture is realizing that a lot of people here have been reinserted into the Matrix just to tell you what you've been thinking. I touched on that a little bit on another video. That's, the Jack the Rippers that never get caught, and the ones who blow stuff up and never get caught, or the ones who just go wacko and go up into the tower and start shooting everybody and get killed. They are there to move the story along, to tell you, look, this is what you're thinking. Okay, do you like it? Want some more? Or do you want to stop thinking that? Because the spanking is you get more. And then, you're like, when's this caca gonna end? And it ends when you stop believing in it. And part of the difficulty of the ocean of facts that we're in is it's video and it's pictures, and look what's happening here and look what's happening there. That's fine. Y'all go ahead. I don't really care. I don't live in Hong Kong. I haven't had those experiences. It's not for me to say. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I get it. So, I'm just gonna love you all and know that in the end it will all work out well. And this is how you deal with these waves of things that can come at you. I tend to not watch the news, so I wasn't paying attention to that stuff. And then, I love my sports teams because sport is how the game is represented to us. And that's why we love sports. That's why we love entertainers. And that's why sports figures and entertainers get paid more than anybody else. We love them. We love the story. They're telling us the story in sport and stories. So, the general manager of the Rockets made a tweet. He put a tweet out saying that he's with the Hong Kong uh, protesters, and this, of course, upset mainland China. You're judging us, and the reality is, you know, they're both saying the same thing differently, and it will get worked out. It will. All isms are traps, and they sow the seeds of their own destruction. So it's not like the ism's going to hang around forever. It feels like it's forever, sure, but it's not. So that's just the way it is, and it's just very fascinating and interesting to me. So I thought I would share some of that, and maybe y'all could put some comments down below. I mean, I have a library of over 500 books. I have read everything. When I was a kid, they told my mom and dad that I had some kind of reading problem. And back then, they didn't know what to call it. And today they call it dyslexia. And my mom and dad were like, no, no, no. We read. We read everything. And you're going to learn to read phonetically. They're silly. Don't you listen to them? Here, this is how we read. And they taught me how to read phonetically. And after I got to reading, I couldn't put a book down. As soon as I put one down, I picked up another one. History? Okay, great. Yeah. Biographies? Oh, I love biographies. I went nutto for a while on sports biographies. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, baseball mainly because I love baseball. But it's, when you go back and look at things, you can see, how it was leading you towards the thing you love to do anyway. You love to do this, you love that, you love this, you love that. And then comes this moment where they're all kind of tied together. And you're like, yeah, this rocks. This is cool. Life is sweet. It's so wonderful. And I really, really am enjoying it. So I'd had a little discussion with someone about Tesla and Edison, and I thought I would start making a big picture moments with Mimi. And, if you want to hear some more, drop them in there. Blessings to you, and thank you. Thank you for being you. You have a great time, my babies, because life is sweet. Don't you ever forget it. It's all seen through your eyes and your senses. So make it a good one. Blessings to you.